That's the biggest buck I've ever seen, Jen. I actually get everything set up, and it's a race against time because that sun's coming up. And I love Remy Warren. He says, don't do the easy thing, do the right thing. And that's all that's going through my head. I have a video of me walking up on it. It's just like the craziest thing ever.
You are listening to the Run the Rack Outdoors podcast, where we take an all-in, leave no doubt approach to all things adventure hunting. From the big woods to the high country. How about that? Let's learn together as we discuss with our expert guests on what it takes to be successful in the backcountry. I'm your host, Weston Homa. Let's get into it. All right, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Run the Rack Outdoors podcast. This week, I got on Keaton Quinn. Really awesome episode this week with Keaton. Found Keaton just through social media, saw all his stuff. He's got some bucks and some bulls, bears on his page. Just seemed like a real go-getter. Local to Boise. And the buck that he shot, we get all into it on this episode. Keaton does a great job of telling this whole story, all the little details, all the decisions he had to make right. And this buck scored at 198. So just an absolute stud buck. And turns out Keaton, we're not too far from each other. So I went over his house. Love doing the podcast in person. I just feel like they're always better that way. And it was awesome. I think Keaton's a wealth of knowledge. He's another just hardcore, backcountry, do-it-yourself hunter, kind of guys I like to be around, kind of guys I like to bring on the show. And Keaton, thanks for hopping on, dude. I had a great time and look forward to maybe chasing some spring bears. So I think this one will be great for the listener, too, because you're going to hear stories of Keaton's whole journey chasing mule deer, how he just continually kept learning and growing, chasing these big deer, and then just from starting where he was, and then the journey throughout to what ultimately led to this buck, and all the little things he learned along the way chasing deer led to him being able to recognize a lot of these little nuggets for making it happen on the day that he killed this big buck. And this was a huge buck. One of the biggest bucks I've ever held in my hand, I think. So, awesome work, Keaton. Great episode. Keaton also owns and operates Full Frame Outdoors. So, pretty cool stuff. They have a digiscoping adapter for your optics to video through your phone. And then he's also got some accessories for Tika rifles. So, go check all that stuff out. We get into it on the episode. And again, just like how Keaton's a real go-getter, and I think I told him at the end of the episode, I was like, dude, you're a dog. You're an absolute dog. He trains hard. He's running, too. He's a big runner. And, totally like-minded dude. Yeah, I think you guys are really going to like this episode. All about mule deer and how Keaton was able to get this big one on the ground. Other things going on, so keep it short here. Boston Marathon, month away. Dream come true. And I've barely been running, so I have a strained calf and just working through the physical therapy. It's just going to be, hey, you have no other option, You just have to tell yourself to be positive, be patient, trust the process. I think my younger self would have easily, first day I felt okay, started running hard again, and just screwed it up even more. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to run hard on Patriots Day in Boston. I'm not going to continue to injure my calf and have to, take it easy on this race or, maybe not even go. That's just stupid. So fighting the ego and just, it sucks, but I like to train hard. I mean, I was doing 70, 80 mile weeks for a long time. I threw that 50K in there and definitely pushing myself. Like I'm not really a natural runner, just trying to get to the next level as quick as possible. And I think these things happen. So just taking care of the body, doing a ton of cross training, just doing shit I hate doing, like riding the bike and swimming. But I don't really care about that. I don't care how I feel. I just do what's required, what I know I need to do. So I get up, I spend a good 20 minutes doing all these little stupid calf exercises. I get in the pool for an hour. I get on a bike. I do all these other workouts, whatever it takes to just, keep up the endurance. So really exercising the discipline muscle and we're just going to get through it. You just take it one day at a time. No reason to panic or whatever. And that's pretty much it for personal stuff going on. It was awesome, too, because I was able to, it was a little bit of a break. So this weekend I was able to, get out and scout, hike around a good bit, went up with a buddy, got on a bunch of elk, and saw some deer, glassed up a bunch. Didn't get on any sheds. We got to find where all those bulls are hanging out. But just good to just get up in the mountains and explore some country. And that's the main reason why I moved out here. So did some scouting, training hard, shooting the bow a lot, and getting a plan for a spring bear. I think I'm going to hunt over bait. I really like doing these baited bear hunts. I'm going to start scouting out my areas to run some bait sites, get it done with a bow. I think I'm going to hunt on the ground, and because I've done that once before, and it was pretty awesome. So get out, start doing that. And then also, I'll be going out spot and stalk. Like I said, I think me and Keaton are going to hook up here. Some other guys I've been talking to, and I got a buddy from back east flying out, so I'll be scouting around for that. And then, Boston, month away, Eugene Marathon right after that. And then I got, a lot of big, cool, crazy shit I'm getting into this summer. And I really need to lay out my schedule and see if I can make all this all happen. So stay tuned. Other than that, I think that's it. So, everybody, let's have another great week. Let's leave no doubt. Let's work as hard as we can, and let's run the rack. All right, enjoy this one. All about mule deer with Keaton Quinn.
Oryx Outdoors builds fitness apparel for those who are driven to push boundaries, whether that means improving their gains at the gym or punching tags in the backcountry. Guys, I've been rocking Oryx stuff for not just my marathon and ultra marathon training, but also for my strength training sessions in the gym prepping for the mountains as well. Oryx was built by hunters for hunters. Go check them out today and use the code Weston for 10% off your next order. That's Weston, Weston, for 10% off your next order. Oryx Outdoors, always in pursuit. Whether your goal is to run your first 10K, go full send in the marathon, or simply just feel more capable in the mountains this hunting season, Run the Rack builds personalized training programs designed around you, your goals, your schedule, and your lifestyle. No cookie cutter programs. Head over to runtherackoutdoors.com, click on coaching, and schedule a free 30-minute coaching call, and we'll talk through your goals, training background, what coaching looks like, and we'll see if we make a great fit. Again, head over to runtherackoutdoors.com, click on coaching, and schedule a free 30-minute coaching call today.
All right, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Run the Rack Outdoors podcast. Stoked for this week. Love doing them in person. I got my new good friend, Keaton Quinn.
Yes.
How's it going, dude?
Dude, very good. I'm just stoked to have you here. Stoked to hang out for an hour or so.
Yeah.
Shoot the shit and hang out and learn more about you.
Awesome, dude. Well, I'm stoked to get you on because we were just chopping it up a little bit before we hit record. I can already tell when a podcast is going to be good because we have a whole podcast before the podcast starts. But we're here. I mean, we're neighbors, dude. 10 minutes down the road.
That is definitely counts as neighbors.
I think so.
Especially in the valley.
Yeah. So, in the garage, I see a ton of bucks and bulls and a bunch of stuff on the wall. And these are the kind of guys I like to get on the podcast. So, and I've been seeing your stuff online. I think it was, I don't know how we first started following each other. And it was Alex that was like, dude, you got to connect with this guy. So
I have a story about how I even saw you on Instagram and I don't even like social media all that much. I truly believe social media in the future is going to be viewed like smoking stoves. Not cool. But there's this hidden aspect of social media. If you use it correct, you can connect with like awesome people that you typically maybe would never even run into. And so your Pennsylvania, like moving to Idaho post, I saw that and I was like, heck yeah, dude. That takes balls. Good on you.
Thanks.
And then like that just showed up. I don't know how on my feed. I don't know who you were. And then I saw another one of you shooting that buck in the low country. And I'm like, my guy, dude. I don't know who he is, but he deserves a follow. And then I was like, I had to just, shoot you some messages here and there. And, here we are today, which I think is like the prime example of how social media should be used.
Yes, I agree. It should be like people talk smack on it, and I totally get it. But people
I don't think use it correctly. They get on there, they compare themselves to others, then they take no action on what that other person has, and then the only relationships they have on there is like they just message some people, and it's like, no.
Totally.
I like being on there, just saying like, hey, here's what I do. Maybe put out something positive today, and like if I see somebody else that's into backcountry hunting, gets after the mountains, they're into fitness and running. That's all I do. I'm like, hey, dude, where you live?
Yes.
That's badass. Like,
Yep.
nice buck. Like, where are you from? Let's meet up. And then next thing you know,
Here you are.
good buddies doing a podcast. So like, what?
That's
yeah,
the dream. That's
it.
That's what it should be.
Yeah, totally. So want to hear a little bit more of your backstory. If you want to give a little bit of an intro. I know you're from Idaho and assumed you grew up hunting, all the things, but give it a once over.
Yeah, so let's see. I grew up here, north of Boise in Idaho City, and hunting was not just like, it wasn't something you do. It was just like kind of the way it was. Like, we got elk opener and deer opener off from school because so many kids would be gone from school.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just hunted a ton, and I think I was able to shoot deer at 12. Yeah. And, my dad was a big hunter all in Idaho the whole time. And so I was like, wanted to shoot this huge deer and whatnot for my first buck. And little did I know I had about 8 forkies in front of me before I ever shot a 4-point. And so that was just kind of the way we did it.
Yeah.
Was just going out, shooting forkies, and we were jazzed at shooting forkies, man. Like, that was the highlight. Like, you'd come back to school and be like, dude, look at what we got. You'd bring your antlers.
Heck yeah.
And I think it wasn't until I was like a junior I shot a 4-point.
Okay.
A crab forking. And I think it was my senior year I got like a little bit more decent 4-point. And then from the hunting side, I went off to college. And like, what do you do in college besides like nothing good? Like,
yeah, it was a bad time.
There
for
was
me.
no hunting involved.
Yeah.
Probably until once again like my senior year. And we just hunted some whitetail. I shot a little whitetail buck up there. Nothing crazy. Didn't think of it. And then just happened to move back down to the Treasure Valley when I graduated. And that's when like this whole thing kicked off. Like, everything you see here in the garage is post me graduating college, and coming down here in 2019. And I would love to go up to my dad's and get my wall of forkies.
Oh yeah,
so I'm talking, dude. I got so many little skull caps.
Yeah.
And that doesn't, this garage does not reflect that.
But
at all.
In a way, it kind of does, dude. Because people don't, like, maybe people starting out, especially when they're older, they think, like, this is where you got to start. Like, that's where you got to be. And it's like, nah, man.
Dude.
There's so much more to this.
So many forkies between here and there.
You should see these little whitetails I got back in Pennsylvania at my dad's house. Yeah.
Dude.
And endless does. But that's those at-bats, that experience, that all leads to all these things.
And so, yeah, it would have been the fall of 2018. And I ended up shooting a deer that kind of started like my obsession with mule deer. I was hunting low country. I didn't know anything about mule deer migration and really like how we have this incredible deer herd that travels hundreds of miles. Didn't understand the dynamics of that. And I took my girlfriend, my now wife, and like the most badass hunting partner I have. And I was like, dude, let's go hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I'll take you to the spot I've been and shot like a bunch of forkies, man.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get you a wall hanger.
That's right. And so, I mean, we're not even 2 miles into this thing. And there's these little draws, and you just kind of peek over them one at a time, and you'll have like typically little forkies bedded down in the bush. And they'll jump up, and you can kind of shoot them at like 150 yards. And we did that, except like a 175-inch buck jumps out. And I was so shooken up, I missed my first shot. And he ran over to the next one, and I was able to sit down, get backpack underneath me, and shoot this 175-inch, like, beautiful eye guards, deep forked mule deer.
Is he here?
He's actually in the house.
Okay.
I'll have to show him to you after. In no way at that point in my life, looking back on it, did I like deserve that deer. I just like happened upon this massive 4-point. high fives, whatever. And let's fast forward to actually the hunting season of 2019. I now think I'm like kind of a big bad buck hunter in a little way.
Yep.
And I got my ass whooped. Like absolutely just spanked all around the mountain, didn't know anything. And it was like from that moment, I was like, dude, I don't know anything about these deer and how they move. And then like the books, the research, Our Fish and Game publishes incredible migration data. And just researching all of that stuff, calling biologists, every podcast I could get my hands on. Between then and the next deer season, it was just like this obsession where I became, towards becoming, actually knowledgeable on deer. And that year, 2020, I was actually able to shoot like a mature 4-point up above 9,000 feet in the high country. Opening weekend, like kind of put all of that knowledge together. And from there, it has just spiraled out of control to, spring turkeys, fall bear. And we used to go and have these nice fishing trips in the high country at lakes, but that got in the way of scouting for mule deer. So now we just scout for mule deer in the summer, hunt mule deer, and then hunt elk, and then go back to hunting mule deer, and then hopefully back to late season elk.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like a summary of how we got to here. And I just like, all I do is I think about mule deer and then late season bulls. And I don't have 2 screens for work in the house. I have it for scouting.
That's it. I love that story though, just from where it started, and then you found that stroke of success. You call it luck. You were still out there doing the thing, but you kind of got that taste of like how sweet a mature buck is. But then you came back and you got like, so it's kind of like the Dunning-Kruger effect, where they say like, you start out and you're like, I got this, but then you start going down the path and you're like, I don't know shit. But then as you keep going, what I love about that, what I'm talking about, that graph?
I know exactly what you're talking about. What's it? The something of despair.
Yeah, the Valley of Despair.
Yes.
So, but the best part about that whole graph is when you come out of that on the far end, after you've gone down the path, you're still not as confident as you were when you started because you're humbled.
No.
And you know how much work it takes. So I feel like that story totally encapsulated that. That's awesome.
You nailed it, because I'm years from not harvesting a deer that year, and I still just am like willing to take the fire hose of information.
Yeah.
Because I have so much more to learn, without a doubt.
Totally. And I think when I first stumbled upon, and we'll plug your Instagram and all that stuff, and Full Frame, all that, we'll get into all that, but on your page, catches your eye, like you killed, was that in 2024? Really big buck.
Yeah, 2024.
Okay, yeah. And I mean, we can get into a bunch of hunting stories, and I don't know if my thought was calling this a mule deer podcast, but I can just tell you're a mule deer guy.
We can talk about it.
I'd love to talk about it. That is the buck.
This is the buck. I brought it out because it's usually inside. There's only really big elk heads and a few big deer heads in there. And so this is, I think it honestly looks more impressive when you just get them and like,
dude,
here, just wrap your hands around that thing.
What was the number? The final number?
He came in right at like 198. It's so funny how people are with antlers. Like I've gotten shade for being like, oh yeah, dude, shot a 200-inch buck. Like I could,
what?
So I'm like, oh, whatever.
That's the dream, dude. No, this is God, like how unique like this tine is too. Just coming out of here, yeah.
So yeah, the classic.
So this one's
floor.
Busted.
No,
right?
just didn't grow as much.
Okay.
Just didn't grow as much. And honestly, these are my favorite parts. All this knottiness and all of the trash around his bases.
If people are listening on Spotify, well, I do have the videos on Spotify as well, but I have these all on YouTube. You can check out this buck that I'm holding right here. Obviously, you can see it on Keaton's Instagram page too, but this is like, you know what? I saw Robbie's buck from this year at the Hunt Expo, but this might be the biggest buck I've ever held in my hands, though. So, dude, just the mass, like, this is awesome. I mean, I'd love to get into kind of like that whole journey of the last few years, all the nuggets you've learned over the years and stuff, but I kind of want to hear the story specific to that buck, too, because I'm sure just that buck alone taught you a lot as well.
Yeah, and I have a long story with him, in a way.
We got time.
Perfect. Because those years between, we'll call it 2020 and 2024, I was ecstatic to be shooting these, ranging from 130 to low 150s bucks. And also I got beef with everyone about the shooting 165 or bust, I have those are some of those are only 130. And I'm like, dude, I still kind of have a hard time passing some of them.
Those are you see the bucks I shoot. I'm still in that chapter. And I'm happy as all hell.
One of those is an 8-year-old deer.
No shit.
And he only scored 138.
Wow. And this one is how old?
Only 5.5. No, he came in at 6.
Crazy.
Because there's so much that needs to come in with the genetics, the feed,
but still,
and everything.
That much difference. That's crazy.
But I was happy with that. And I was just kind of in the back of my head, man, all these guys that are shooting truly big deer aren't necessarily shooting truly big deer every year. I was like, maybe I should try to bump up to this next level. And it's kind of back there. But I really wanted to get my wife an archery bull in 2024. That was actually we'll kind of set a little goal of what do you really want out of the year to get? Do you want to shoot an archery bull? Do you want a late rifle season bull? Do you want a big buck this year? And we'll kind of, trade off what we do.
Yeah.
So she really wanted an archery bull that year. And the way we kind of scout for an archery bulls is we kind of go up into the high country and kind of just find cows. And we'll always leave Friday after work, walk or ride in somewhere.
And this is through the late summer?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. We're talking August.
August. Okay.
Be there. Maybe we'll get there 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock at night, and then wake up, scout your early morning spot, and then pull out midday and go to a second spot in the evening, because then you can hit 4 spots over a weekend, trying to figure out where kind of cows are, so we can then be right on them. Hopefully, early season. September, when it first opens.
Right.
And I think it's August 15th. Sun's coming up. It's about to come over the, right at our face. My wife is looking nowhere where the elk should be. She's looking right where the deer should be. And I'm just kind of bro, we're here for elk. At least look where the elk are going to look. She's like, hey, I got some deer. She's like, one of them looks like a nice buck. I was like, all right, fine. I grab out my spot and scope, and I just rip it real quick, and I'm like, dude, that's the biggest buck I've ever seen, Jen. And it's I actually get everything set up, and it's a race against time because that sun's coming up. He's in the shadow, and he's feeding right to a timber pocket. And I bet you we had 2 minutes of him in velvet with another buck that was easily 160s.
Okay.
And that was it. He fed into that timber pocket and just was burned into my brain. So we left him that day and went and did our elk scouting and whatnot.
Okay.
And so now I have this issue where, I told my wife, I'm getting you an archery bull this year, or I'm getting you an elk this year, but we want it to be an archery bull because I, as a backup, had bought another non-resident tag.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one other time that I was able to make it out during elk season to go scout for that buck, because where he had living was in kind of a really unique face. It was away from people. It was an unsuspecting little face where I knew people were overlooking it, not hunting it. And it was a long ways in there. And so it had good water, good feed, good cover, good escape routes. And so it kind of, on a singular area, had everything a big buck could thrive in. And I was like, this is his home. And I had really high confidence that he was going to be there on rifle opener. I would prefer to take my odds on rifle opener, that him still being there and me being able to hunt him that day, than me blowing the stock on him with my bow, because I don't have as much confidence during bow season.
Okay. Was that because of your skill set or where he was,
A
essentially?
little bit of both.
Okay, gotcha.
And so I had confidence he was still going to be there. And then I really wanted to get my wife a bull. And so we hunted elk really hard and adjacent to where he was. And I'd try to come in there, and I just was not able to spend enough time to go and actually relocate him during elk season. So we were unsuccessful with my wife's bull.
Mhm.
And I have one weekend between archery and when deer opens. So I go in there from, I'm talking the second the sun is up, I'm on the glass, to the second the sun is down, I am perched on my glassing knob, and I had stared at this mountain for a month e-scouting, imagining like what type of vegetation type is, where he might be feeding and whatnot, because on Google Maps, when you're familiar with an area, you can see what type of vegetation is there, and it's like, well, I think he's going to be feeding over here, maybe beds over here, this is where we saw him. And
you got to think, too, what that vegetation stuff might look like later in that time. Even though the weather, I guess, still pretty similar during this whole
October,
time.
the first weekend in October is just kind of a little window. As long as it hasn't froze too hard,
Right.
because these deer are eating out in those slopes on, the flowers and whatnot that are out. And so if you haven't had a really hard freeze or whatnot, they can still have good feed out in the open, and they won't have secluded into that timber as much, it seems.
Right.
And
it'll be the same feed. It'll be the
Yes,
same,
yes.
Everything's the same.
And
so
all that was kind of lining up.
yeah.
And so I show up weekend before opener, Saturday, glass all day. Eyes never coming off the binos, not able to find them. And then Sunday, same thing. As soon as sun comes up, we're glassing. And I was still planning on hunting the spot, but my confidence was just just coming down and down as the day trickled along. And, I'm hours from home. It's Sunday. I have to be at work Monday. And I'm like, whatever. I am sitting here until I literally cannot see a single thing. And I kid you not. He feeds out of the timber with maybe 3 to 5 minutes of light through my binos to see. And I just switch over to my spot and scope so quick just to confirm, because the inlines, we saw him in velvet. I had good video of him in velvet. And I just wanted to see that he's had those big inlines. And sure enough, he just fed out right where he should have been. I was in the area for an entire weekend, because there's the greater area and then there's a little area that I thought he was going to be in.
Okay. And when you say all that, and you don't have to give any more away than you don't want to, but is this the same basin essentially?
Same slope.
Okay.
Think of a 3/4 mile by 3/4 mile square,
Okay.
plastered on a slope. And
Okay.
he should be in a certain section of that.
Okay.
And he was there. Dude comes out, and I'm just ecstatic. It's like, we got this. This is in the bag.
And this is, you said, a week before deer opener, or when is this?
Yes,
okay.
this is the
Got
weekend
it.
before.
Got it.
And I usually don't take deer opener off, because a lot of people take it off. And so I usually don't take it off. I'll just hunt whatever the weekend is. But I actually took deer opener off. My wife was, I think, 6 months pregnant at the time. And so we weren't comfortable with her walking all the way in there because of the amount of exertion.
Wait, but you just elk hunted, right? During this time?
Yeah, so
in this story?
Technically she got pregnant during elk hunting, right?
Okay, yeah.
She would have been only 6 weeks pregnant, so it would have been right in there.
Right.
So
Okay.
yes, there was
Oh,
some,
6 weeks. Okay. Right. Yeah. Okay.
There may have been some pregnant elk hunting, but we may not have.
That's so funny. Yeah. Okay. Wait. Did she get a bull?
No, she didn't.
Okay.
That comes in November.
Okay. Got it. All right. Continue.
So I'm like, dude, my hunting partner is gone.
Mhm.
She can't come. So I text one buddy, and then I text another buddy. And I'm like, hey, can you guys come give me the assist on this big buck that I've got. And I hadn't been sending anyone really pictures except my true group. I hadn't posted anything online. I hadn't done nothing. It was only my close friends
not with that buck.
knew. And so I texted a couple people, hey, can you come? Everyone was like, absolutely, let's go. So we go in there on opening day, and it's like written out of a book. We're sitting there. It's an epic glass knob, but it's a mile and a half away. And I'm going to kind of paint the picture. We're on one side of a canyon. He's on the other side. It's a mile and a half straight line. Call it probably only like 1,500 feet down our side. Maybe less, maybe 1,200. But he's probably 2K up his side.
Okay.
So we're a little lower than he is. Big canyon across.
Let me ask you this before you keep going. So you're a mile and a half from him.
Mm-hmm.
I know when I run my 65, that'd be a poke to really like see very well on a buck. What size glass we're using for that far? And what was your setup?
So I get a lot of shade for this. I have Vortex Crossfires.
Okay.
10 by 42s as my binos. And then I just have a, Razor 65 mil.
Okay.
So, looking at my wall, I have a bunch of expensive guns, but there's I got Crossfires.
I just know, like in the field, when I'm more than like a mile, it's like I have to be very intentional with like the spots I'm looking at. Like I have a hard time scanning and picking up like good. Because I remember writing that down once, like in the field, and then when I'm e-scouting, I'm like, try to be mindful of that when I'm picking out glassing knobs. So
I feel like a mile and a half is my limit with my binos,
okay.
But we can pretty well do 2 miles.
Okay.
And I think it just a really good tripod and really thoughtful like glassing and like picking apart the hillside.
Okay.
In this case, I had picked a glassing knob so the sun was going to hit them, so he popped better.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it's right on the edge.
Okay.
Now, mind you, both guys on either sides of me have Swaros.
Okay.
So I'm the odd man out here.
Yeah. No, but I wanted to just ask that in case. I don't know. That was just something I was thinking about too.
It's a totally real thing though when you're trying to figure out a glass knob, because I don't want it more than 2 miles.
Yeah.
Because a mile and a half is great, and under 3/4 of a mile, I feel too close.
Yeah, definitely. I like the binos.
Yeah.
At that point, but continue. So.
Oh, and I'm probably even at a mile and a half, I'm probably 90-10 bino spotters.
Really?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I know. I've been getting my binos on a tripod more, and I'm definitely like getting more comfortable with it. But
no. It's only binos on a tripod. You don't put those things. You either are standing.
I mean, I'm never freehanding them. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, like that's what's mostly on the tripod. Like I'm just usually so quick to always just have my spotter out. But I have learned over the years that like spend more time with the at least first, and then picking out certain spots maybe with the spotter after. But anyway, I don't know.
Yeah, because I think my morning period when you have active deer, I'm probably 90% binos and only spot checking real quick. And then midday, I probably switch closer to like a 50-50. And then as it transitions, I go back to that, like 90-10 where I'm binos mostly.
Gotcha.
Because you're checking that. You're just looking for that movement, right? Yeah. That's something that comes out. And so that field of view is so key. And so that's why, the Swaro NL Pures are just incredible, because they're not only are they clear, but man, they have a huge field of view. So you can just see so much more.
I just remember being like my first few years coming from back east. It's like I got this spotter, and like that's just what I want to do so bad. But then you, like, we'll find that you have so many situations where, like, you are far, at least you think you are, but that spotter's doing you a little bit of a disservice.
Huge.
Like you gotta have that wide field of view, especially for those movement times. First light, last light. So I don't know. Wanted to throw that in there.
That's a great point. That's a great point, because I do feel like a bunch of people overuse their spots. And I even hit my buddy all the time. He loves his spots. I'm like,
Yeah.
Back to the binos, bro.
Especially the first time guys, because that's like what,
Yes.
I don't know. I feel like you see more often. You think like, I need to see them. You know, I want the most magnification I can, but more often than not, you know, it's not like a whole deer is what
Nope.
you'd see always like in the thing. It's just some sort of movement, near flicker or a tail or just some. It's the
Something.
movement that catches
Yep.
you.
Yep.
So that field of view is key.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, we were sitting up, and I mean, sun just came up. We have just passed what I would consider as gray light, and my buddy next to me is like, "Dude, I've got him. I have him." And I was like, "Really? Like where?" You know? And he points, gives me one of these, and he's top like 8th of the top of this mountain, which previously he'd always been kind of mid-slope. And I was like, "You mean up by the mountain goat?" And there's just a couple of mountain goats hanging up, and he was just right up there feeding,
man.
completely out in the open in this in some of the white bark pines,
Yeah.
kind of adjacent to a mountain goat. And I was like, "Dude, like we've done it." The hardest part I find is relocating your buck that you want to go shoot. Everything from there, as long as you do a really good job throughout the day, I feel like you can end up like taking your buck home.
Okay.
And so we watched him till he bedded, and he bedded right at probably 9:30. And from there, we just started, hustling as quick as we could. We hit the tents, we lightened our packs on the way, and then we just, we bombed down as quick as we could, hit the bottom. And so we've got this face here, and there's a backside face. We were too nervous to come up this side because it just didn't allow us. It's just too.
You say this side, like right below him?
Yeah, we didn't want to come straight up at him.
Yeah.
It just felt too risky, and I love Remy Warren. He says, don't do the easy thing, do the right thing. He has some saying like that.
Yeah.
And that's all that's going through my head. And so rather than coming kind of adjacent to him, even though we could probably skirt up this side and then come over directly at him, we ended up looping all the way around into a different basin and coming up the backside of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that ended up presenting a challenge with those mountain goats because they were right where we wanted to pop over. And so we're kind of playing like this game with the mountain goat, trying to bump the mountain goat the right direction.
God.
And I even have pictures of like me set up on the gun and this mountain goat feeding up, shoot, and kind of standing on a rock looking at us because we were able to loop all the way around him.
And was this buck, was he by himself up there?
Yeah, he was. He was completely by himself.
God, our mule deer just like,
Dude, they're
amazing.
crazy.
Up there with the mountain goats.
Yes.
Rifle opener, October, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, well above, 9,000 feet.
Yeah. God. Okay.
But, so I guess we'll back up. We hit down in the bottom. It's now 11 o'clock. And Will is like, yo, these guys love to rebed around 11. We need to get eyes on them. Let's see. And so many just lucky instances. We're literally looking up from the bottom straight up. I range him at 900 yards, like straight up. And I'm like, Will, he just got up. And we all three spread out because we all kind of have different angles. And he is like feeding. And we're constantly like losing him. And we're kind of like side hilling up this bottom through the trees, just trying to keep visual of him.
Mm-hmm.
And he fed for probably 30 minutes and then was able to bed back down. The kicker is we have no idea where he bedded because all we can see is this little tree pocket. We can see a window into it where he bedded. We don't really know where he is on the slope. Okay. So we continue to loop around and come up the backside of that face through a rock chute. And our plan was to pop over at the same elevation as him because he's on a flat face, and we're going to come over and be on the same elevation and hopefully be able to shoot right into his bed.
Sounds like this is probably your best bet too, because you said 11 o'clock. Thermals are coming up. You gotta
Yeah.
get up around them, get
That's
on the
exactly
same level.
right. That's
too.
exactly right.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we crunch up that 2,000 feet, and I think it took us an hour and a half to get up there. So, call it 1:30ish or something.
Mm-hmm.
We get up there, and it just looks like a foreign landscape. I've taken pictures while we were across, and I have a Samsung Note. I draw on it all the time when I'm putting stalks on deer. I'm constantly taking pictures of the hillside like this. I circle individual trees. I write notes on it.
Smart tip there, the listener. Go back and rewind that one. Yeah. No, continue.
And then through my spot and scope, I take a wide out, or I'll even do it through my binos and then my spot and scope. Because, man, when you get over there, how does it look so different?
I know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But it does.
Mm-hmm. That rock that you thought was like massive, you're like, oh, I can't miss that. And then you get over there and you're like, where the hell is that rock? Yeah.
Yes. So he had moved away from that spot. And I also had a few videos of him from underneath. And so now we are up on the same elevation as him. And I typically love to shoot deer at like 400 yards. I don't really like to shoot further than that because that induces a whole nother set of variables that I don't really like. 400 yards kind of gives me, like, you can move a little bit, you can be a little bit noisy, you can get away with some stuff. We popped up and we were kind of pinned at like 230 yards.
Okay.
On a rock point that has a mountain goat 200 yards off down below us that we really tried to avoid, and he's actually ended up bedding there. And then up above us, I'm not comfortable going any further up because he might have a view of us if he looks up above us.
Okay.
The kicker is he moved and we don't know exactly where he is. And then no hillside's flat. So we get over there in these little tiny finger rolls. And you're like...
And he could just be hidden in
dude,
one of
he could
those.
just be right there. Yeah. And so...
And 230, getting in like sub 230, you could get picked off like that. Like, that's so close.
And there was no quiet. We're on this shale.
Yeah.
Everything's loud. We, like, our backpacks, we kind of stacked up rocks on this backside of it to kind of place our stuff and whatnot. And we're just kind of laying and sitting, skylined on this, rock ridge. And
you're doing a good job describing it. Like, I feel like I'm there. The tension's like, we're going to get picked off. He's going to see us.
That's exactly how it felt.
Yeah.
And, Will was wanting us to go up and kind of press our luck. And I just was wanting to be conservative. And I said, no, like, when I left, Jen's like, hey, just make sure, like, do whatever you feels right. Because we've done a really good job over the years of, like, just making the right decision off your gut sometimes. And that's kind of what you have to go with. Sometimes you lose, sometimes you win. But when you go with your gut, I feel like you can at least stand on it better. I was like, no, we're
100%
staying here.
Yeah. That's actually, that's great. I think about the trusting gut thing, like, side tangent. When I trust my gut and I'm wrong, I don't feel bad. Because it's like, okay, well, I made the best decision with the information I had at the time.
Yeah.
And then that's just a learning experience. But when when I'm wrong, and it was like I was following something else, some other person or other influence, and like I did that, but like then I made the mistake or was wrong, then I'm just kicking myself.
Exactly.
I'm like, I'm an idiot. Like,
yes.
And that doesn't sit well with me. So it's like, always trust your gut. Like, and then when it does work out, when you trust your gut, then you're like, oh, well,
you're like, I'm the man.
I'm the man. Yeah.
That's exactly right.
But it sounds like you're doing the right thing. Yeah.
Dude, time just kept ticking. Like, the day was cruising along. We had three of us just kind of like, we'd army crawl or shuffle up and down this ridge, kind of accordioning up and down it because it's, just a little change of perspective sometimes can help so much with no luck. And I think it was around 3:30. He literally just stands up from right where we were looking, right at 230 yards. He was just behind a tree. We couldn't see him. And I had my gun set up. I didn't know how far he was, but I had it kind of set up prone right there. And I immediately jump on the gun. They jump on the spotters. they're calling ranges to me, and I was not able to get in a good shooting position, nor was he presenting me any shot that I was comfortable to take. He was either straight on, or anytime he was, I had there's a bunch of dead trees in front of me. And then it was just like he vanished again, and he was gone. What we didn't know is that, one of those little folds he had just gone into, which we then kind of figured out, and he had laid down in that fold. And we didn't understand how he had just disappeared in there because we couldn't see that fold. And it cruised all the way till like 6:30, and sun is setting. Stress is back high.
Yeah, what a day.
We're starting to wonder, like, did he sneak out of here? Was that fold just enough that it would cover his antlers? So if he stood right in the bottom of it, he could just sneak right down to that timber patch?
Yeah.
Because he totally could have done that.
Mm-hmm.
And this time, I have prearranged where he went to bed. I know like how much to take off. If he comes at us, goes away from us, okay, that's 400 yards. This is 200 yards. It was super windy, probably 20 mile an hour updraft wind. I already have my scope dialed for my windage already dialed in. It's like, okay, you guys go right on the spotters. You guys confirm range. I had my gun set up already this time, because we knew where the exact area he should be. And I had kind of built up like a rock platform for me to lay prone on. And I bet you it was 20 minutes before shooting light. Once again, there ended up being a dead log that was, huge. He ended up just bedding right on the back side of it. And we just couldn't see him. And Will calls out, he's up. I jump on the gun. They jump on the glass. They confirm range. And he's walking at us again. Same thing as he had done before. And I had no shot. And he had walked in and finally kind of turned broadside. But there was an old dead white bark between me and him. And he was standing there. And I'm like, dude, screw it. I can shoot through this white bark as long as I know how far the range is on it. So I range this white bark, and it's only like 120 yards. And so I have a gap between these two branches at 120 yards like this, kind of a keyhole.
Yeah.
And then the deer is further than that at probably 220. And I was like, well, my bullet's actually going to arc right through there. And I was like, all right, guys, we're going live. And then was able to shoot him right there and put a perfect shot.
Oh, what a shot.
And Will calls a shot. He thought it was high and back. And I was like, dude, it felt so good. Paul actually has video of following him, of him tumbling. But in the moment, we just never viewed Paul's, video.
Oh, man, yeah.
And because Will had really good video, and we never even looked at Paul's. So it was like really stressful just kind of walking up, because it's amazing how far on a super steep shoot they can travel downhill.
Yeah.
But he wadded up probably 50 yards from where we shot him, and like, I have a video of me walking up on it. It's just like the craziest thing ever.
Hey everybody, real quick, if you're listening to this episode on Spotify, please go ahead to the top of the page and leave a star rating. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, you can leave a star rating and a review if you'd like. If you really like this episode, please share it with a friend, throw it up on your Instagram story, share it that way. Any sort of share or review really helps grow the show. Really appreciate it. All right, we'll get back to it.
Dude, so many things like in that whole story from the very beginning when you first saw him to even that day of such a long day. And I know some of these like mental battles on situations like this is like you have to convince yourself that that deer is still there when you're out there like scouting, just like in those weeks leading up, and then also during that day when you kind of kept working towards him, kept losing him, and that's an all-day affair. I feel like it's almost like misconstrued, because you always hear like the success stories on podcasts where guys are doing it, and you never hear the stories of like where it doesn't come together.
Pan out, man.
And I feel like most times a lot of guys lose patience, convince themselves that that buck went down that chute, he's gone.
we've invested so much into this, like for the day, like let's just make like a hard aggressive move, and then you bump him, and you don't even realize you bumped him, and then you're like, oh, like you bump him, you don't realize, and you're like, oh, he blew out of here. He blew out of here earlier this morning. Like, you know what I mean? Like all these mistakes you could have made, but you didn't, dude. Like you kept it together. So like, just walk me through that. Some things you're telling yourself.
So 2 of these deer up here are actually, because we find them early in the morning and we shoot them late in the day, because we were able to sit on them and truly be patient, even though you're just like ripping your eyes out with doubt. Like the doubt that you're sitting there when you think, a buck is there, and then like how your mind plays games on you, thinking he's snuck out somewhere and like Houdini'd you, which does happen.
Right.
But I do have like some success stories from that, of waiting 5+ hours and then ended up getting a great buck out of it. And this was like no different. I so badly, multiple times, wanted to take, what Will said, and it just replaying in my head. Like, dude, just ease up this shoot, and you're going to eventually be able to get high enough up where you're going to get an angle down onto him, and you'll be able to shoot him at like 150 yards. Just offhand, he should be facing downhill.
Yeah.
And like, that's the aggressive play. And I was just like, no, he has to be there. I don't think his escape route is big enough for us. And so we're going to sit here and we're going to do what I've done in the past. And it has worked, because patience just
kills the buck.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
And what's hard too is like you can never split test it.
No,
like what Will said could have worked, and maybe for him, dude, that could have killed the buck. But if it doesn't sit with you, and you have that little like self-doubt, like that's not the plan you want to execute, that's what's hard. It's like you got to trust your gut. And I don't know, dude, I give you props, because that's mental discipline to keep yourself mentally in the game. Like you have to. Like you have to.
So, and it was a long day. First light to killing them. I think we walked up on them after 7, and it was just like, dude. And I look at it as, it took so many little right decisions, so many little pieces of luck, or so many little pieces of just like paying attention to the little stuff, and really thinking, and I say this so much when I'm out hunting, just don't make the easy choice, make the right choice. It's going to be harder. It's going to suck. But like so many times, I'm just like, thanks, Remy. You're the man for, I don't know what I heard that or where I heard it from him, but it's helped with so many of these animals. I mean, even that bull my wife killed later in the year. Dude, it was a similar type deal.
Yeah.
Just doing the right thing, going the hard route, because then the bull's right there and you can just put the hammer down on it.
We can even get into that one, but I wanted to say too, like where I struggle, because this past year, the first time I hunted high country mule deer with a bow in Colorado, which was amazing. I loved it. But like I struggle with like getting out there, and I know the stories. Like you sat on a buck all day, like you be patient, patient kills the buck, and it's like, okay, got it. So then it's so easy to sit here and like talk about that and everything. But like when you're on the mountain, like, and with experience, it'll come to, and I know that. But like I had so many times where I'm on the mountain, and I'm like, okay, glass up a buck. He just bedded in his first bed. I'm like, okay, patience. Patience kills the buck. And I'm sitting there, and I'm watching him. And 5 freaking minutes goes by, and like you don't have cell service, you have nothing. It's all quiet, and you're like, well, maybe I should be aggressive, right? Because like a lot of these killers are aggressive, like these people I see on like TV and stuff. Like, no, yeah, I'm aggressive. I gotta be. You know what? My old baseball coach said I needed to be more aggressive. He's right. I'm gonna go kill that buck, and then you blow it. Like, so it's like you always know exactly what to tell yourself, and it's just all about reading that situation, going off field. Because I'm not saying there aren't times to be aggressive, but it's all situational, and patience is a huge part of it, obviously.
Dude, I could not agree more. And time just does weird stuff when you're sitting there by yourself, because so often that's how we are, you know.
And it did pay off for me after I blew a couple stalks. I sat on the buck that I shot for 4 hours.
Yeah.
And what's weird, though, I felt like almost like I was in the zone. It didn't feel like 4 hours. Like I felt like I was doing exactly what I needed to do, and it was fine. And it didn't actually feel that long. So I think that's just like evidence that I found for yourself. If like you're out there, you don't know what to do, it's like when you're trusting your gut and you're just gonna know. You're just gonna have that instinct.
And it's
I
like
guess.
the perspective of like, dude, time just moves out there. You kind of know that, and like the perspective of like, I need to sit here, and I'll just say it to myself, like, no, we are sitting here and we're gonna ride this plan out. This is what I feel best about, and like if this goes not how I want it to, like I have to be okay with that too, because this is the decision I made.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love that.
And like the place that these deer bring us is why I think deer are like far superior over getting to hunt elk. You know, like I hunt what would be considered high country elk, but it's nowhere the same. They're like living adjacent to deer, but you don't get to be in the same country.
Yeah.
Like crawling up the chute, I'm talking hands and knees with 30 pounds in our exo of day stuff, gun, dude, and like you guys are going one at a time, crawling up a chute, and because like the other guy's standing off to the side of the chute because you're sending rocks down, and the other guy, like the last little bit's like a 8-foot little thing that you kind of toss your backpack up to, and like you're there with the mountain goats. Like I see so many mountain goats, and it's so cool. They're one of my favorite creatures. And just like being up in that, it's not really subalpine, but like where all the white barks are, the sage gets all small, and there's just something special about where the deer actually take you when you hunt them compared to the high country elk, which are like, they're up there, but they're down in the bottoms of that.
They're not bedded up against the rim rock.
That's right.
And I'll have to show you pictures of, it was the same buck I ended up arrowing in Colorado where I was up at 12,000 or whatever.
That's so
where
bad.
he was. Yeah, it was so gnarly. But the whole time I was like, I am sheep hunting. Like I am up in sheep country, and I'm like, I can't believe I'm up here looking for a deer.
That's
like
right.
To me, it's still a deer.
That's
like
right.
deer to me are like the back 40 in Pennsylvania. Like this is nuts.
No.
So, but I'm loving it. Anyway, like I'm up there, and I'll have to show you like pictures of where that buck was bedded the day before.
I love that.
And I'm like, how is an animal up here comfortable? Like, we blew a stalk on him that day, but then it was the same buck, and ended up getting on him the next day. But it was just like, they're just incredible, dude. Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
That's freaking sweet.
Dude, I know. I need to give elk more of a focus this year to then really decide, am I a mule deer or an elk guy? But there is something about these mule deer. I can't explain it.
I do have a really sweet spot for late season bulls. So November bulls in the snow, backpack hunting them with a hot tent. And then it's probably harder mentally. The days are so short. The nights are way longer than the days. It's so cold. You have to be so dialed in on gear management, moisture management. Like there's an actual safety risk of it. Like there's many nights I can think of where it's, in the teens to single digits up there. And I'm literally camping in 2 feet of snow by myself chasing, like bulls up there. And because that's where they live in that time when there's so much pressure down low from the road system, they just push up high. And there's nothing better than like backpacking in there. It's not necessarily, or it's not always necessary, but I feel like it ups my odds so much more when I can sleep on the mountain and I can be right there close to them when they're getting up and coming out of the timber, or they're coming out in the evening. And it's the elements in that sense make it so challenging that it does kind of, it's a little bit below, but it's because it's so hard with the weather and it's so technical in that aspect is what makes it fun, because it's just like a problem solving nightmare every single day of trying to figure out how you're going to stay alive up there.
I can't stand when I hear people like really, like they're just sounding like an asshole, like saying like how much harder bow hunting is than rifle hunting. And it's like, listen, man, I know there's other ways to rifle hunt, like whatever, but if you've ever done a late season backpack rifle hunt, so we've done it in Colorado. That video I just posted of like
Yeah.
the tent,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
had like,
Oh, yeah.
so that was 2023 Colorado second season, big storm end of October, and then that season like rolls into November. But woke up, you saw 2 feet of snow, and dude, that is like the elements you deal with. Because when you're bow hunting, usually it's nice weather. Even if you get rained on, this happened to me few times this past year. Even if you get caught up in a storm, if you just get in your bag, like usually going to be okay. Even if the night gets pretty cold, and then always I tell myself then is like, okay, this day just like sucked. But like, just make it tomorrow. That sun comes up, everything's gonna be dry and fine
I have running
within
shoes
a
on.
day. Yeah, exactly.
I have running shoes on it.
Dude,
It can't be that bad.
But when snowstorms hit, like up there, and you're backpacked in, and like, we went to bed that night, and I remember thinking like, huh, like this is gonna be really interesting because that was the first big snowstorm like I was in, and yeah, because you have to then like, because it's one thing to get wet and cold when it's gonna be 65 or 70
Yep.
degrees and sunny the next day.
Yep.
It's really not a big deal, but when you get wet and cold and it's going to stay and it's in the single digits
For the rest of your trip.
yes, yeah, and only get up to like the highs in like the 20s
Yeah.
and continue to stay cold and overcast and wet, that's hard. Like that's a whole nother factor for sure.
It does make it very challenging. You have to be experience helps that so much on like navigating, and props to you for staying in there. I see so many people when the bad weather hits, they immediately pull out of the good spot they were just in. And I'm like, no. This is the time.
I'll say we moved, but we did tag out on bucks.
See.
But went to more of a transition area than we are at the very high point, you know.
But in that sense, you were almost following the deer because those deer were going to move also. So that was going to be the right move.
That was the thought. And we literally did this big J hook essentially. And it was funny, the first couple days in that new spot, it was like, so all these big north-south ridge system, all these little fingers within it, deer were running like up and down over these ridges. And yeah, it was great. So we made that move. But yeah, like, dude, that's hard shit. Yeah.
So many people pull out, and that's the moment when it's like, no, this is the time to go actually kill something. When it gets hard. So
yeah. So, dude, dang good work. Love to see it. And then I don't know. Do you look at that buck though? And then, I mean, you've had a ton of success over the years then anyway from that 170 buck that you've lucked into. But you kind of look at that buck now and think like, because you hunted him hard. You found him before, like you hunted this buck. You didn't luck into this buck. Some of like the lessons learned over the years that kind of led that from lucking into that 170 buck to this buck. If there's any sort of lessons learned that stick out as a mule deer hunter, maybe animal behavior or just how you go about the hunt or anything like that you've learned.
Well, there's no way I could have killed this buck 3 years ago or even 2 years ago. Because, like, each time you're going out there, I'm taking a little notes of, like, what I did, what sucked, and I just don't think I would have been able to put it all together. I don't think, the patience is by far the biggest thing. Because there was little bits of patience dropped throughout that story that hopefully, or I'll kind of point on each of them. We saw the buck right when the sun came up. We did not leave him until we were sure that he bedded in his final morning bed. And we sat there, we had breakfast, we watched him, and we hung out. And then when he bedded, it was literally sprinting as fast as we could. And then 11 o'clock hits, and like, yeah, we don't know exactly when that sun's going to hit him, but kind of during that time frame, he typically should get up and kind of move around to a second bed.
Right.
And we slowed back down. And though we were in the bottom and it was like a less than ideal situation, we were walking at every little opening. We would stop and check. He's still there. Right. And then we checked one time. He wasn't there. And it's like, okay, sit down, drop packs, everyone spread out, try to find a hole through this timber. Let's see if we can find him. We picked him back up, and then we were, moving through this timber trying to keep him in our glass. And then we saw him bed, and then we sprint again, because move fast when you have the availability to, because sometimes getting there with minutes to spare makes all the difference. So if I have the ability to move fast, and I don't kid I'm sprinting. I'm actually sprinting down the hills and 180 beats per minute heading up the hill.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we got up on top, we didn't just come up on top and, look over this ridge. We dropped packs down below. We had just the gun, one spot and scope, one set of binos. We crawled up this edge and just as if we were, just peering over it inch by inch by inch until we could see the whole terrain. We knew we were safe. We could then bring our stuff up. And then we sat there for hours, we'll call it 3 to 6:30 plus, and just sat there on hard rocks. My ass hurt so bad. We wanted to move, but we just didn't, because you had faith that he was still there, and that was the choice that I made. And then when the shot came, there was no rushing that shot. When I squeezed that trigger, I had no doubt in my mind my bullet was going where it needed to, because I just didn't want to rush it on that. And I could have shot him at a frontal many a times over. And at 200 some yards, well within reason. But you typically have the time. It just doesn't feel like it in the moment,
Right.
because there's so much pressure behind all of the actions that you've already done throughout the day that make you say, get it over with right now. Pull that damn trigger. And it's no, just wait. He's going to present you the shot. There's no reason. He has no idea you're here. He's going to feed it, turn uphill. He can't walk at you forever. And if he does, perfect, right? Run that through your head. And I waited for a good shot, and then made it happen. So each one of those,
Yep.
all kind of has an individual thing to it, but it all comes back to being patient.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my thoughts on that.
I think all that whole, then that short story you just told, I could tell you were making decisions based on prior experience. The buck, okay, it's 11 o'clock. The buck should be getting into his second bed right now. Let's, post up or whatever the situation was. All those decisions came from prior experience, and you put it all together. And that's a hell of a hunting story, dude. That's awesome. Yeah.
Thanks.
Love to see it. I love talking too, because I wrote that down this past year. Going on some of these stalks, when that buck is bedded, move, go. Don't waste any time. He's bedded.
Yes.
But you don't think that, because you think stalk. And again, this is just me starting out stalking all these deer. You think you just got to go easy. But when you have time to go.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
And I want to hear a little bit too, because talking about getting in shape for those moments, running. I didn't realize too, you are. How many mile weeks were you saying? Were you telling me earlier?
I was doing roughly 70-mile weeks when we had my son. Right, we fast forward through that year. 2024 was best year ever. Got married. My wife got pregnant. Shot a big buck. My wife shot, this bull up there, and it was
Hell of a fall,
dude, let's go.
Yes.
And springtime comes up. Buddy texts me. Let's do a marathon.
Okay.
And I've dabbled in running, for the last 7 years or whatever. And I've done one marathon prior to this, well undertrained. I did not respect what a marathon was, is how I would say that. And I got my ass spanked.
Yep.
Rode, a 4:30 marathon. And it was, I kid you not, probably the hardest thing I'd ever done. Okay.
You got it done, so props to that. It's like anything, hard. You don't prepare.
That's right.
It's going to hurt.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And so the marathon that he wanted to do was six weeks out. And I had just come off of, in 2024, I think we spent actually 90 days in a tent.
Nice.
And so we were hunting hard, and my aerobic base was really high, but I was not in running shape. So immediately jumped to 30-mile weeks, and I only had 6 weeks to train for the marathon. Jumped right to 30-mile weeks and then tapered it up to do 70-mile weeks. The kicker was halfway through this training block, this 6-week training block, on the third week, my wife was due to have a baby, have her son.
Yeah.
And so at the time, so ignorant. I'm like, dude, it's no big deal. Like, I'll have 3 weeks. I can literally train as hard as I want. I need to get a good base. And then I'll have 3 weeks. It's perfect. I'm on paternity leave. I'll be home the entire time.
Yeah, I'll find
This
the
is
time.
easy.
Yeah.
Little did I know, like, there's this whole, you don't sleep as much, and like the hardship it is of being a brand new parent and the learning with that.
I love your mindset though. It's like, new kid, what's the big deal? Let's run a marathon.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so we finished out strong. My wife is incredible, and then also, like, diligent time management on just running when you have a break or when the kid sleeps, or running at 11 o'clock or 3 a.m. Like, you get up and he's perfectly asleep and I just put him down. I think he's going to be asleep for 2 hours. It's 3 a.m. This is my time to go run. And so just continued the block till our marathon at the 6-week mark. And my goal was a sub, 3:45 is what I wanted, which was so high for what I'd ran a 4:30, got smashed, and now I only had 6 weeks to train for this, and ended up hitting it right at 3:45 on the mark,
Dude.
And it was amazing. It was the best thing, and I think I finished that marathon out doing 6:58 miles. Like, my last mile was just right under a sub 7, and I was like, dude, this is amazing, and it felt so good to, like, actually complete that while, like, having a newborn, and just
You're a dog. You're an absolute dog, because you could have, especially at that point when, like, it got hard with the kid, you could have chalked up that race. Nobody could have said shit, really. Like, you got a newborn, like, but you were like, I'm still doing this, and then still got your big runs in whatever time you could. And then not only that, then you, like, even in the even if you were struggling in the race, you could have even still, like, been like, I got this newborn, like, still even like what's the word, like, settled, and not hit your goal, and still would have been, like, badass. But, like, you didn't, dude. Like, all the way through, to the end, fast miles at the end. Like, I love that.
Yeah.
People, I don't know. People want to know, like, how to, find consistency in the mountains, like, all these things. And it's like, dude, the guys I talk to, the biggest killers, that's the mindset they have. They do not deviate. They put the work in. They do what the hell they need to do, and that's it. And they apply it, and it's in all aspects of their lives. They're dogs.
I could not agree more. And I hate the correlation that running has to walking up really steep hills with heavy weight, because it's so easy to stop. All you have to do is stop on your run. All you have to do to ease the pain, like when you got 80 pounds on your back and you're looking at 2,000 feet of vertical, and it's possibly the most excruciating thing you've felt in like 12 months since last time you did it last year, and you're like, what am I doing? All you have to do is stop. And the pain, it's amazing how much less pain you're in. And running is in the same way. It can be so painful having to push hard when you're running, and it's so easy to relieve you of that pain. Just stop running.
This is a great correlation, yeah.
It translates over, and I don't particularly love running, but I think mentally it trains you so well in the mountains. And something that makes you successful in the mountains is being so mentally hard that you're not giving up, you're not going home early, and you're staying, it can just be being focused all day. Glassing can be a key part. I think people fuck off way too much when they're glassing.
Dude.
And so all those little things, you train that while running.
Yeah.
And, like, I followed up later that year with the Hawaii Night 50K.
Oh, yeah? How'd that go?
First 50K I ever ran.
Hell yeah.
And It had, I think, 3,000 feet of elevation in it.
Yep.
And let's see. I got worked is what I got. Because I ran that marathon. Was awesome. I kind of kept my mileage. Where I live, there wasn't a bunch of hills. So I wasn't able to train the elevation very well. I still got my miles in, but I wasn't able to travel to the foothills to get that in. And so the elevation
It's different, dude.
hits different big time. And so the last 10 miles, I'd never had to fight so deep. It was so hard. And I'll still say to this day, that was one of the hardest things I think I've ever done. Just being cramped up, my calves, my quads, my hammies, everything. I couldn't eat. Like, I was done eating. My body was like, nope. Wasn't liking drinking. And you just then had to continue to suffer out at the world's slowest 12-minute miles and just pound it, eat another 10 miles and just be like, no, I'm not quitting. Because it's amazing what your body does. It just keeps going and going and going. You can push it so far.
Yeah, and when you get behind like that, and that's happened to me before in races, especially like the longer ones, when you don't stay on top of the calories and the salt and the hydration and everything, it's almost impossible to catch back up. So then your body is going to start using all its energy into your legs. So it's like it rules out your stomach. It forgets your whole digestive system. But you need that to keep the legs going. So it's like you get caught in this spin cycle where you look and you're like, I can't even. It's not even like, I don't know if you were throwing up or anything. I've gotten to points.
I wasn't to there.
Yeah.
I wasn't throwing up, but I could tell I was riding this just paper thin line of I was about to. And if I kept feeding myself, I was going to be there because I was going to upset my stomach and then everything was coming up.
Right. And then you're really screwed because anything you do have is out. But your body's just like, focus on your legs, but again, all you have at that point is your mind. Like that's it. And it's amazing, like you said, what the body can do at that point. And then like, gosh, man, like, and then when you come out of that on the other side, though, that confidence that can give you of like, if shit hits the fan back here, I blow this stock on this buck, or I do tag out way back here, and like I don't know, and you're wanting to compromise. It's like, well, I've gotten myself out of some pretty nasty, shitty situations before. And just having that little confidence can make or break.
Man, you brought up a good point because I have put myself in situations where I may have been further back than I should have been. And it's just a time equation of getting out. Like, I'm like, I'll just take Monday off. But it hurts so bad. But then I can come back and I'm like, my calf is cramping literally 1/8 of what it was here. Or, oh man, like my hip flexor's kind of acting up. I'm like, yeah, but I literally pushed through that for 15 miles that time.
Right.
And so you have all these things to go back on where like everything feels so big and daunting. You're like, no, we got this. It's just a time equation and we know how to suffer.
Right.
And then you just do the work.
That's it. That stoic one-liner I always think about. You're making that correlation between like running and the uphill vert of like with a heavy pack. And it's so easy to just stop. Like if you just stop moving, the pain's gone. But that doesn't get you where you want to go, stopping. So that stoic line of the only way out is through.
Yep.
That's what you like have to embrace. Like that's it. Like the only way I'm getting out of this is like success, getting done, finishing this race, getting up on that mountain to put an arrow or a bullet in that buck. Like that's it. And the more you can, at least I've found, convince myself of that in those hard times, it's gotten me through.
Yeah. No, I think you nailed it.
Great conversations, dude. I love it. I love it all. But I want to talk before we wrap up about Full Frame.
Oh, yeah.
So plug that. What is going on there? I saw you at the show. You had everything out. So really cool stuff.
We started Full Frame right out of college.
Okay.
And it came from, we started this originally as just a digiscoping adapter. Phone scope was the only thing available. It was expensive. You're out of college. You don't have much money.
Yeah.
And I didn't like how it worked anyways. And so I had kind of jerry-rigged like a Home Depot bucket that I had kind of heat molded as a phone case. and then I had heat molded also some PVC pipe to my spotting scope, and had like kind of an adapter you could put on there. My best friend, who's an engineer, comes over. I'm showing it. He's like, dude, let's kind of do this, but with magnets.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's genius. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Instead of a Home Depot bucket.
that's right.
Yeah.
And so then we, went down the rabbit hole of, 50 plus prototypes of what we wanted. And what we wanted was to be able to use your own phone case and use the same adapter on a spotting scope and a binocular. That was a large ask. And then there was no one else out there.
Nobody's doing that. Yeah.
At the time, there was not a single person out there besides phone scope. So we're like, dude, this is amazing. And we proceeded down prototyping, and it was 2 years of this. We filed for a patent. We got our patent, and we had designed what we believed was the availability to do all of those things with our nanner that goes on your phone, and then an adapter that has an internal slider so it can adjust for the larger spotting scope eyepiece and the smaller binocular eyepiece. And right then, when I think we were 2 months out from launching, All In launched.
Okay.
And then MagView also launched. And All In came out with a bunch of influencers.
Yeah.
And then All In came out with a bunch of influencers, and MagView also came out with like a bunch of nice marketing and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and just like took the wind out of our sails, really. A bunch of college kids just we're just cash flowing this thing to get it off the ground. They're using magnets, great idea. We're doing it a little differently, and so that just hurt a lot.
Yeah. If there was one brand, I'd say they went all in with, their influencers and everything. I had one in the past, but your setup's just different. Everybody's got like their own kind of wheelhouse there, but what I liked about yours is the simplicity
Yes.
of it too.
Yes.
So can work on any.
Pretty much any modern optic. You get some of the really old spot and scopes. Their eyepieces are a little small,
Mm-hmm.
and then any binocular.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so we kind of pulled back for a second, and they're like, dude, screw it. They're selling these things for so much. Our whole thing was keeping it under $100, and they're totally different. We licked our wounds, and we got our stuff together, and we launched. And, the digiscoping market's a tough place to be in because phones are always changing. Cases are always changing. And if you want people to be able to use their own phone case, that can be challenging because a lot of times the phone cases they give you aren't as high quality as something that you may typically normally have on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
And so, then we launched and it was all great. It was like, dude, what were we doing? Like, it's just, it kind of hit the ego, but everyone can be in that space, and competition's great. It makes you want to be better.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know, you're just young at the time, right? And you're like, oh man, we're never going to be able to like compete with that. And it's like, no, you actually don't have to compete with that. You're in your own niche.
Yeah, you focus on making it your best, your thing, your best. And I liked it at the show, man. Simple,
Thanks.
simplistic design. I think if like you're a guy that just like, hey, just give me something that's going to last me, because it can be used on anything. I think it's a great option. And once you got it going, like set up, because think you're only going to ever use it on your spotter, like 99% of the time, or your binos. So once you got it like hooked up, and it's like where that strap needs to be, you're pretty easy.
You're good to go. It'll click right on that magnet, auto aligns it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've been selling that for, I guess 4 years now.
Okay.
And then my neighbor, big into NRL hunters, PRS matches, started bringing me a few years ago. Been shooting it more. It's expensive, so I shoot Tikas, and the things to modify your Tikas are also expensive. I have one fancy Tika, but I have multiple in just factory stocks.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, how is there not something out there that's more affordable to, turn your Tika stock into something a bit nicer? Because Tikas are light, they're affordable, they shoot really well, but their stocks suck. And so I kind of, good friend, and, who designed everything for full frame. I was like, dude, will you design me something? And so he kind of started modeling stuff up, and I was like, no, change this, change that. Well, I like this, And I was just kind of had him design me exactly what I wanted to go on my Tika. And then we were like, dude, this is really good. Like, other people might be wanting this.
Yeah.
And so then we kind of refined it and prototyped it all through 2025. So we kind of had it end of 2024, and then we prototyped and, did the durability and kind of just refined the little bits here and there of it. And then we launched our Tika accessories January this year, which, take your factory Tika stock, put the accessory kit on it. Dude, you have the ergonomics of a chassis for under $100.
Dude, it looked pretty slick. And I don't know, I'm more of the bow guy than a gun guy, but like, yeah, I could imagine getting that whole setup like in the fancy custom way could be an arm and a leg. But what you got going on, I don't know, looked pretty slick.
Yeah, I think my XLR chassis is like I think paid $1,000 for it used.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's the setup right there, right?
Yep, with the orange
Yes.
on it. Yep.
Yeah.
Cheek riser, bag rider, vertical grip, man. And I tell everyone to get Tikas too because they're cheap and affordable.
Okay.
Or cheap and accurate.
Okay.
And then it just takes a little bit of tweaking, and you can get so much out of them till you need to turn them into a full custom chassis if you ever need to. I don't even think you need to, because you can get so much out of them from the stock configuration. Like, unless you're gonna go compete, or you really want that next level, or you want it to look cool, go for it.
So are they like most any caliber, those Tikas?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know much about them, but
Pretty much any caliber that is like standard and going to
Right.
be in the gun shelf they're going to chamber in.
well, cool, man. I think that's it. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you want to plug here or talk about? Anything new and up and coming from Full Frame
Nope.
we're working on?
Nope, we're just running
Okay.
the Tika accessories. We just launched those in January, so we're just
Okay.
running hard with them right now.
Got it. Cool, man. Well, where can people find you and all that stuff if they want to follow along and
Dude,
check out some
probably just
Full Frame
Full
stuff.
Frame Outdoors on Instagram is probably going to be the best.
Yep.
That'll be the place to go. I have my personal Instagram, but I just more so lurk on there, where I actually post on Full Frame's account.
Gotcha. All right, man. I think that's it. Anything else you want to
No, man.
plug here?
I just had a great time chatting. Thanks for coming out and hanging out and
Yeah.
chilling.
Looking forward to, I don't know, man, linking up some more. Maybe go chase some spring bear.
Yeah,
if
I
you're
think we
down.
should go do a spring bear. I grabbed out some rendered bear fat for you. I'm gonna give you.
Stop.
Yes, dead serious. I meant to put it out here, but it's still in the house. I got you because I figured we should go on a spring bear hunt. So.
Oh, dude, yeah. I'm so down. And I appreciate that, too, because I had bear fat rendered, and I didn't bring it out with me. And it's so funny. When my parents visited, my dad's like, you need a cast iron skillet. And I'm like, whatever. And he comes back, like, one afternoon they went shopping, and he bought me one. And I'm like, I wish I had my bear. I literally just thought this today. I was like, I wish I had my bear fat to put in here, like to, season it or whatever.
I got you covered.
You the man. All right, we'll go chase some bears. And
Let's do it.
awesome conversation, man. This was great.
Thank you.
All right, man. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you on the next one. See ya. All right, dude. Hey, if you liked that episode, please share it with a friend, share it on your story, and give the podcast a rating and a review on wherever you listen. For more of this type of content, you can head over to the YouTube channel and follow along on all the social platforms. Really appreciate it. See you on the mountain.